We need to end the Electoral College. Electoral College goes back to the time of slavery. It goes back to the time of the Revolution. And it was a compromise between smaller and bigger states, but also between slave states and non-slave states. So it's a relic of that time. It was also a relic of the British Crown. The colonies were the whims, basically, of the British Crown, and those colonies became states. So our very idea that states should get a vote for the presidency and not individuals, that goes back to the whims of the British Crowns. If people really knew our history, they would be surprised at a lot of things. Now, the idea of support for electoral college is that candidates would only visit big states if we had a direct election of the presidency. But that's not true. Where do they campaign now? They campaign in big states. Florida, Ohio, Michigan. They don't campaign in Wyoming and Vermont. But anyway, why should that be a criteria of electing a president or voting for a president? I don't vote for a president based on the campaign appearances he makes in my home state. I vote for him based on the policies he supports. Now, if candidates only visit big states under this theory of having direct election of the president, why don't they do so, or at least why don't U.S. Senate candidates or governor candidates only visit big cities within the state? Why doesn't the U.S. governor candidate in California only visit L.A. or San Francisco? Why does the Texas U.S. Senate candidate only visit Dallas or Austin? He just doesn't visit that. He visits small towns. It's the same thing under the presidency. You have to get support throughout the entire country. There's plans to have a national popular vote system where if someone gets a majority of the of the popular vote, then states pledge the delegates to the candidate who got a majority. We should have that kind of system. We also should have an instant runoff system, but more about that later in a future issue. And we shouldn't have two states basically decide our nominees, being New Hampshire and Iowa, because they get to go first because it's traditional. Traditional meant, defense of women not having the right to vote. It meant defending slavery because that was traditional. I mean, tradition is a horrible argument. It's the worst argument you ever see in the history of anything. But unfortunately, many people who rely upon tradition, but it's failed time and time again. We should have a rotating primary system. The way we elect and nominate presidents in this country is just unfortunately not very good.